Hello.
Hello.
So, pleasure to be here. I'm Gilles Peterson with Young Marco. Now, I do a series. I did a series last year, which was a little partnership I did with WeTransfer, and continue to do stuff with WeTransfer, in which through the radio platform Worldwide FM, I've been interviewing people that I really admire, DJs that I really admire, and I've wanted to get to the core of what it is that gets you through the night most of the time. Because I've been DJing for 30 years, and DJing culture's changed a lot in that time. I started off as a DJ just sort of for fun, and because I like music, and there was no sort of glory to it really, apart from being that guy that didn't need to talk to people in the party. I could just watch and play and enjoy it. And as DJing kind of grew and acid house happened and DJing became a business, a global kind of network, I was sort of more and more fascinated by how other DJs tick, because I found it quite difficult to kind of deal with like suddenly being the star or suddenly being the sort of main act. And so I, in a way, as a form of therapy, I've wanted to ask other DJs about how they get through the sort of ups and downs of the DJ thing. So last year I interviewed a bunch of people from Black Madonna to Cassie, to Seth Troxler, and I got a lot of insights. It was kind of weird actually for me, because as much as it was therapeutic, it was also bringing me back into the kind of bits where I get a bit freaked out. So sometimes when you're DJing, you don't really want to think, you just want to have fun and do your art. But sometimes, you do go through moments. So it's quite helpful to find out how other DJs get through it. So I've asked Young Marco to come through because I'm a massive fan. And you're also, funnily enough, you're going through something at the moment which I went through, which is having children in your early 30s and still being a DJ and still having to go out and do all that stuff and cope with like the music and being an artist and also having being a family man. So I'll give you some tips later on.
Oh yeah, please. I'll try not to freak you out.
But yeah, welcome, Marco. By the way, also, normally when I do these things, I do them in my basement to nobody. It's just the two of us. So
okay,
let's just imagine
this is your basement.
This is my basement, and we're all together. But yeah, first of all, just tell me a little bit about how, what it was for you that got you into music, and when you realized that this might well be your career.
I mean, somehow I've always been kind of into music. There was always music playing in my house. It's just what everybody says. But then later on, my mom listened to Prince, and then I started playing in punk bands.
So your mum was into Prince?
Yeah,
okay,
massively.
Right.
Which I later started appreciating.
Yeah. But you weren't into it at first, or did you?
Of course.
Yeah.
But, well, now I am.
Yeah. But it's weird because in a way, with kids, my kids, when you're growing up and you're in music, in a way, you don't want to be into what your parents are into.
Of course not. No.
So if your parents are into really good music, that's a problem, because your kids are going to be into really bad shit, right? Anyway, so
fingers crossed.
You fought a little bit against it, but then eventually you realized she had good taste.
She has great taste, yeah. Thanks, Mom. But now, I started playing in punk bands, and then simultaneously it was also a bit geeky, because I was making video games and stuff when I was like 11 or something, and I sold floppies in the schoolyard of grade school. I had my own game company with the ominous name of Pyramid Enterprises.
Wow.
And I would also make music to that and stuff, and it would be like a little drug dealer selling floppies on the schoolyard. And then later I got into like trackers and stuff, and then somehow programming that stuff got you into Warp Records for some reason always, because it made you feel really smart if you listen to early Warp Records.
Right, the record label.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I started getting kind of into when the internet happened and stuff. And then I got into making websites, and it led to doing graphic design, and I had a design agency, if you will, for quite a while actually. And then started making record sleeves, And at some point, I started doing all the record sleeves for Rush Hour. Did that for like.
So at this stage, you weren't even thinking of being a DJ?
It was kind of like. I started out DJing already, but wasn't really serious. And then I got.
Were you Young Marco then? Were they calling you Young Marco? Or did that come because you were a young guy in the music?
Well, I once was young, yes. But I used to DJ with another guy called Orfeo, who's now named Orfeo the Wizard, who does red light radio. So we started out together, and we did radio also.
Yeah.
For like every Thursday for like 3 years. And then through doing graphic design at Rush Hour, all the sleeves, I became more involved with the label and did, became one of the A&Rs, helped out with the label pretty much. And that slowly made me realize I could maybe be involved in music for a living, and then kind of DJing kind of kicked off.
I mean, just before you say about that, what interests me was we were outside, you were saying, it's gone.
Oh, yeah.
There was a logo there, right? That was one of the sponsors or something, or partners of this. And you actually designed the logo?
Yeah, it was me and Niels Mulman did this Talpa logo, which has now disappeared. But
so you were doing serious stuff?
Well, we did like big stuff and small stuff. But then like the whole economic crisis came, and stopped being fun, and then.
Music was never going to stop being fun, I suppose.
No, but the whole graphic design, I'd done everything. I designed logos for big companies and skateboards and flyers and T-shirts and stuff. And then I was like, okay, like music was kind of like more open, where I could not have deadlines or clients, which changes if you do music for a long time, because then you have deadlines all of a sudden again. But.
I mean, it's been an amazing sort of few years you've had. And I was just writing down some of the projects you've done, because I mean, in a way, I spent a lot of time doing radio and DJing and running record labels. Before, but you're part of the generation where the DJ also produces music. So in a way, you put a lot of your energy into making music.
Yeah, but I never really saw it as one thing. I was making music during the week and then DJing in the weekend. It was just also kind of a weird thing, because in the beginning you're like, do I have to make the music I play, or what's my who am I? It's an existential question.
Yeah. Do you know who you are now as a DJ? Have you found that?
I think so. But I mean, you have to go through a phase where you have to realize I'm not from Chicago or Detroit. I used to be skinny, but skinny white kid from Amsterdam. Yeah. And it's like, what do I actually represent or do? And then you have to kind of accept who you are, I guess.
Yeah. Well, the music that you make is really interesting, because one of the projects I was going to ask you about is the project that you do with Johnny Nash and with Gigi Massin, which is called Gaussian Curve, right? Tell us, because what's interesting about that project is going off of our Psychology of DJ thing to a degree, but it's an ambient project. I saw you performing it live a couple of summers ago at Obanjan, beautiful little place off Croatia, off the islands there. And I thought this is interesting, because you've got this ambient legend from Italy, you've got an amazing sort of producer who's from the UK but living in Indonesia, and then you've got you who's known for your house sets, your world music sets and stuff, and you're making a kind of ambient music. Yeah. And so in a way, that's a real flip to what you would do as a club DJ, or do you feel, this is one thing I'm thinking, that audiences, club culture audiences around the world are becoming so sophisticated now that we're going to get to a stage before long where we're dancing to ambient music? Do you feel that you can...
Well, that's true. I mean, I've... With Gaussian Curve, for instance, we did a tour with Larry Heard in Australia. It was like 5,000 people or something, and people were just dancing to ambient music. I mean, this it's not that different, just lacks a kick, really. Everybody can count to 4. So,
yeah.
But I think, yeah, there's a generation now which is a lot more open-minded and is more in tune with a lot of different kinds of music. It doesn't necessarily have to be dance music the way people think dance music is supposed to.
And do you feel that, this gives me so much hope as well, because of course I grew up when acid house happened in 88, 87, 88, and I was doing a thing called acid jazz, which was basically the stuff that the acid house guys weren't doing. But I was getting booked to do parties all over Europe, and they got confused about acid jazz and acid house, so I'd end up going on after Jeff Mills type of DJs to 5,000 people in venues like this with like my crazy jazz records. And so it became quite traumatic for me because I was suddenly seeing people leaving the dance floor rather than coming on the dance floor, right? So do you find that now, as you say, with the sort of the fact that people's tastes have grown and are more sophisticated, do you find that when you're preparing a set to play in a big venue, because you're doing a lot of the big festivals this summer, big, headline sets, how far out can you go? How far can you take it away from the easy kind of, one for all type of music, which we all know we can drop and succeed with?
I mean, you can go as far as you want. Just have to find out how it lands, And
are you
the whole thing about DJing is kind of have to learn how to cope with failure or expectations, or and I've gotten it down to quite a fine science now, where I can tease them or excruciate them to just enough.
Yeah.
And then take it back where people feel comfortable again, and they keep teasing their kind of comfort zone.
Brilliant. Yeah, and
that's what I think your job should be. Well, no, it's not. I'm not trying to teach anything. That's just what keeps it fun for me, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I also find that actually some of those gigs where you turn up and it's like everybody's jumping up and it's a good sort of Instagram shot of everyone having a great time. Those ones are actually less satisfying at the end. The gigs where it went a bit weird, a few days later, I feel better about it. Do you find that?
Yeah, and there's also one of the best things to do if you have a crowd that maybe disagrees with you, to kind of part the ocean and kind of when there's some boring techno DJ before you, and not that all techno is boring, but some of it is. To kind of push the people you really don't want to play for, just kind of have them go get a beer, and then have the people that are into it to the back, which is a very kind of almost kind of puppet playing, guys with tribal tattoos and stuff, that kind of slowly trickling to the back, and then having the like-minded people stay or something. So it's clearing the room in the right way.
And then you can start again a bit.
Yeah, you can start again,
Start again and do your thing. Okay, talk to me about technology for you, because of course, you've telling us that you were sort of making these video games, doing design, making music. Obviously, technology for you must be a big part. I mean, how does it play as a DJ? How do you use technology? Are you kind of old school and play vinyl, or do you?
Well, I still exclusively buy records. I don't really buy files or anything.
You don't buy files?
No, because there's too much choice. Like pretty much everything I do, I try to limit the way because there's just too much information and stuff going on, and it's just your mind gets overloaded with all this nonsense. And it's the same. Like I once went to Beatport head office, I think, because I was probably sitting over here, so I should mind my words, but saying that there's 1 million or something tracks released every month.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, but only a small percentage sells, So I can't even be bothered with getting into that. So I just process music the way I grew up processing music, as I just go in a record shop, buy some records, and I record it, and now I'm remastering it and kind of making it sound better than the actual. Because a lot of people are also this cliche discussion of vinyl versus files. I mean, there's a lot of like expensive records and stuff you buy, but they sound absolutely horrible. I mean, I own quite a few.
So you actually remaster the vinyls that you buy to make them sound really fat for the club and good for the club?
Yeah, well, not even for a club, just
for those. Right.
Just good.
Because
you have to deal with like bad pressings and stuff. You know, like old Chicago house records, they sound horrible because it's like recycled vinyl and stuff. Right. So but then people are like, oh no, it's like you have to just play vinyl, and it's not. Yeah.
It's the first time I've heard that. It's a great answer because I think that that's again where we differ a little bit because I'm on the radio. So being on the radio, I feel a responsibility to listen to a small part of those million records that are made every week. So my mindbox is just flooded with stuff. Yeah. And it's hardcore.
You never reply.
And I never reply. And I'll play, and so I'll go from maybe 500 songs a week to 50. I won't listen to more than 500, I don't think. I hate those like hip hop mixtapes because you get 30 tracks. It's like, oh God, find the tune. But with you, what's really interesting is that you go to the record shop. The record shop is your kind of curator in a way. So the record shop's a really important taste sort of channel for you, like.
Yeah, totally. And
which shop do you go to? Have you got your favorite places?
Well, I mean, we're quite lucky to have some really amazing shops in Amsterdam, like Rush Hour, Red Light, Vintage Voodoo, and there's loads of secondhand shops. Yeah. But now I've been traveling for quite a few years. I know my spots in Japan, and there's like private dealers and stuff, and it's like a candy box. You just take stuff out, and I'm not that pressured also by I have to have all the records. Yeah. I kind of let it come to me.
Have you got a favorite record dealer guy who knows Marco's taste? So you go in there and he'll go, I've got. You don't need to waste 3 hours here. I've got the 6 really brilliant.
Well,
bits.
At Red Light Records, I have like a little private stack.
You have your little stack.
They'll stick stuff in there for me. In Tokyo, there's a guy called Dubby. He knows what I like, and there's a few of those. But yeah, I mean, it's also you don't have to pressure yourself too much about because I know loads of people that are into rare music, but they've never listened to a full David Bowie album, which is quite funny to me because they're I once played these guys that are into really rare ambient music, and I played them Moss Garden or something, Bowie Eno thing, and they're like, wow, this is amazing, what is this? And it's I'm just going to buy it for a couple bucks in every shop.
Yeah, that's great, I love that. Actually, can we just talk a bit about Amsterdam and the Netherlands, because that's where we are at the moment, and I mean, what is it that's making a place which is population-wise quite small, have so many amazing DJs, and not only sort of DJs of my kind of taste, but also this history of kind of electronic festivals. I mean, they have festivals in here, right? This is
I played there.
You've played in this room
2 years ago, I think, over there.
Yeah. Was the sound better then than it is today?
What?
How was the sound?
Well, it's all right.
Yeah.
But it was funny enough, I used to play another club down the road where I used to do my own parties. There was like 20 people, the same 20 people every party. And I was still playing the same music, and then a couple of years later, I played here for like 5,000 people or whatever.
So what is it about Amsterdam and the Netherlands that makes it sort of breed so many great DJs, record shops, the music culture so strong, do you think?
Well, I think Dutch people are very open to kind of take in other cultures, and they're, 'cause in a way, Dutch people kind of have like an identity crisis, maybe. So they're always trying to take the best bits out of bits without claiming it, So there's like quite a strong connection with Detroit and Amsterdam, and at Rush Hour we used to do a lot of started doing like a lot of those comps, which so it's that the whole open-minded thing that we kind of had a head start in Amsterdam, I think, which now make a living of.
Yeah, and when you travel around the world, do you feel that, do you feel Dutch? Do you feel like you're like an ambassador for the culture here, for the scene here, and so you go to these places, and then you kind of bring their music back and introduce it to audiences here, or do you feel any kind of sense, or do you just feel like you're just a global traveler?
No, I don't feel particularly Dutch. I mean, sometimes I have a strong desire for cheese in a country that doesn't sell cheese, but yeah, that's about as Dutch as I get.
So let's take it back to technology a little bit. And so, so we know how you play your records and your music. What about how do you feel technology is going to affect the DJ world in the future? Do you think that?
Well, the one good thing is that people aren't that channeled anymore. So people can make up their own minds now. Like it used to be, radio and MTV, and it was very very categorized. Like I'm into this because I listen to that radio station, and now people can like form their own opinions a bit more. And you see that a lot with like what's this generation called?
The naughties.
Yeah, exactly. So they're less like I grew up on MTV and stuff. So I listened to Nirvana and whatever what was on when I was in high school.
Yeah.
But still had my little secret life, which is partly due to internet when it was on bulletin boards and stuff, like trading stuff. But yeah, I think it's easier to form your own musical identity through the internet. But there's also a lot of downsides, which is too much exposure to a lot of stuff, and people get really caught up in wanting to know what something is instead of kind of just appreciating something for what it is. So I mean that just people holding up their phones, Shazamming stuff is.
Do you allow phones in the club? Are you one of those phones are banned guys?
If I owned a club, I might think about banning them, but.
If you own a club, you'd ban the phone.
Yeah, I think it will help, but. I mean, because it's a horrible thing being on your phone if you're trying to seek out this transformative experience, which is your ultimate goal as, if you're DJing, and then everybody's just on their phone or.
Did you just give us the timing?
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Either thumbs up or thumbs down.
What did you say?
So like, wrap it up.
Oh, wrap it up. So. You loving it? Loving the DJing? Is that still like, can you let go of it? Can you let go of it? You don't need to do it, or do you need to do it in your sort of, is it?
I think I don't, but then if I don't do it for 2 weeks, I'm disappointed by the fact that I want to do it. So
yeah, I know.
It's hard to let it go.
And you've got gigs upon gigs this summer. If anybody's a DJ and knows the sort of circuit, you'll do it. You're not doing Ibiza, I noticed. You're not doing Ibiza, right?
No, that's yeah. I have a kind of
you have a love and hate relationship. Yeah, I'm the same with you on that. But I'm about to go back to. But anyway, anybody who follows the DJ thing, you're doing the best gigs this summer. Which one are you looking forward to the most?
I'm quite looking forward to Field Day next week with you, Giles.
That'd be good. That's a good way to end it. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.